ESR channel, and we are talking the Skirmisher role, which is simultaneously in some ways very intuitive to understand, and in their other aspect, I think pretty unintuitive. Let's get into it. So these are the 10 roles. I've got a video there. I can link a card to it, explaining each of these briefly. This is the overall tier ranking list for every class on every role. And I'll remind you, this is just tier 1 of play, so you're level 4, and there are no subclasses, no backgrounds, no species, no feats involved. This is not your maximum potential. This is your starting point for building a character, okay? And so we're going to focus on the Skirmisher role. That one there, that's a symbol I'm using for Skirmisher. And before I get into the details of the Skirmisher role, I'm getting really close to 200 subscribers. This is week 7. It took 4 weeks to get to the first 100. I'd really love to do this a little faster, so it'd be awesome to get to 200 by the end of the 7th week. So thanks everybody who's been with me so far. And so there are 4 martial roles. Martial means you're fighting physically, either with weapons, you're using armor, or you're using your physical agility to dodge, or you're using unarmed strikes like punching, kicking, headbutts, but you're fighting physically. Usually, okay, not always. There are some outliers out there, but that's usually what martial means. By and large, it also means you're making attack rolls for your attacks. You're not causing saving throws as your primary form of dealing damage. So, and 3 of these are melee, meaning you're standing adjacent to the enemy, or getting very close to the enemy is perhaps the finer point we should put on it, because I'm going to make some differences, bring up some different points here. But of the 3 melee roles, you got Skirmisher, Frontliner, and Tank, and they kind of are the spectrum of defensive, high defense, low offense as the Tank, and to high offense, low defense as the Skirmisher, and the Frontliner is just the balance of the 2. First up is deal maximum damage, the most damage you possibly can. And so you want to get yourself in advantageous positioning, and you want to, as you make all your build choices, as you're making your character, you are making every choice, or almost every choice, for damage output. I mean, and that is your job. That's what the rest of the party is expecting from you if you're going to be a skirmisher. Their other job is get into melee and get out without provoking a bunch of opportunity attacks. That's what OA stands for, opportunity attacks. So yeah. And so like every character, you're trying to survive, right? You're trying not to die. Now with you, your strategy for not dying is not being targeted, right? Even though you're a melee character. And that's what it means to be a skirmisher, right? Skirmishers, refers to a form of fighting where you get in and it's a quick fight, but you don't stay, right? Because you don't have the ability to last. You're not going to win a battle of attrition. So it's have a quick fight and get out. And that's your play style as you engage with the rest of the party and help them with, these combats. All right, let's talk options you have for your tactics to be a skirmisher, to get in and get out. All right, first up is disengage, okay? So you're looking for features like cunning action from the rogue, step the wind from the monk, or flurry of blows from the monk, which you might say, hey, that doesn't make sense. And that's because the reason I list it here is because from levels 1 to 4, the monk can make 1 attack with their action and 2 attacks with flurry of blows. So your flurry of blows as your bonus action is actually more damage than your action. So you might want to disengage with your action and then use your flurry of blows bonus action to make 2 attacks, which will be more damage. And then levels 5 to 10, it's 2 and 2, right? 2 attacks with the action, 2 attacks with the bonus action. So it would be less expensive in the form of key points to make 2 attacks with your action and then do your free step of the wind to escape. But then at level 11, they make 3 attacks with their flurry of blows. So you're back to this 2 attacks with your action, 3 attacks with your bonus action. So you might want to disengage with your action and then use your bonus action to flurry of blows for 3 attacks. There's a few species that can give you nimble escape, like the goblin. There's also the saber-toothed tiger beast form that moon druids could get at level 6. And then there's conjure woodland being spell that druids get at level 7 and rangers get at level 13. And I think there's some other subclasses that have access to it. Certainly the bard can get it at level, start getting it with their magical secrets at level 10. So conjure woodland being is interesting. It's like a spirit guardian's effect where it deals 5d8 force damage in a 10-foot emanation from you. So a little bit smaller area, a little bit more damage, 1 more d8 than spirit guardians would be doing. But it also gives you the ability to take the disengage action as a bonus action every round that you have this up. So any druid can now be a skirmisher by using this to run in, hit everybody with their emanation damage, bonus action disengage. They could still make an action attack or action cast a spell like Cone of Cold, run in, Cone of Cold everybody in the face, and then just walk away with by disengaging as a bonus action. So These are not this is not an exhaustive list of all of the ways to disengage to get in and get out, but this is a decent list, right? I want to give you a number of different ideas of how you might do this. Next up is the teleportation tactic. Okay, so you're looking for any form of teleportation you can get. The Misty Step spell, whether it's on your spell list or you can take it through Fey Touched Feet. Then there's several species that have a teleport as part of the species, one of the species features. So the Eladrin have Fey Step, the Shatterkai have Blessing of the Raven Queen, the Astral Elf has Starlight Step, and then you have the Shadow Monk Shadow Step that they get at level 6. So these are all the different ways, a few different ways that you can teleport to get out of there. So you just run in, do your action to deal damage, and then teleport to get out, which doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. The trouble with this one is that specifically in tier 1, it's probably pretty hard to pull this off because you just won't have enough teleportations available to get out every round of combat, right? And the way I'm doing all these calculations, so you know, is it's three combats per long rest. You get one short rest, and each combat lasts 3 rounds. And you know that's not exactly how every combat goes, but that's the average of the averages in my experience. So to get 9 rounds or 9 teleportations for 9 rounds of combat per day at level 4 is pretty tough, right? If you choose the Archfey Warlock, you can get 4 Misty Steps because you get a number of Misty Step castings for free without a spell slot equal to your Charisma modifier, which should be 4. So that gives you 4. And then if you're like an Eladrin or a Shatterkai or the Astral Elf, that gives you 2 more because you get a number of those teleports equal to your proficiency bonus, which is 2 at level 4. So you're looking at 6. And Shadow Step, right? That's not even tier 1. You get that at level 6, which is tier 2. So this one is a tough one to pull off on its own. If this is your only strategy for dealing with not being targeted, it's tough to pull off in tier 1. And your third tactic for getting in and out of combat without getting targeted is use a reach weapon. So, or have some form of reach. So you're going to use a reach weapon. You're going to have the long-limbed ability, like from the bugbear species. You're looking for like lunging attack from the Battlemaster subclass. Battering Roots at level 10 from the World Tree Barbarian subclass. Runic Juggernaut at level 18 from the Fighter subclass, the Rune Knight. There's several other ways to get a little bit of reach, or to get reach, like the Elements Monk can do it too. So you're looking for one of those. Now, there's a gotcha here that is a big change from 2014 to the 2024 rules, and that's reach weapons, right? All but one of the reach weapons, whip, are heavy, right? The whip is the only non-heavy reach weapon. So you can have a shield and a whip, and the whip you can also use with dexterity because it's finesse. All the heavy reach weapons, right? They're heavy, and heavy property in 2014, the only downside of the heavy property was if you were not medium-sized or larger, then you had disadvantage with the attack. They changed that in 2024. So now, if it's a heavy weapon and it's you attack with, and it's a melee weapon, then you need 13 strength, or you have disadvantage with the attack. And if it's a ranged weapon, then you need 13 dexterity, or you have disadvantage with the attack. Which means that builds like the Artificer, who can change the Artificer Battlesmith, who can use like their intelligence instead of their strength or dexterity for the attacks of the weapon, and like Warlocks, who can use their charisma, the Blade Warlock, who can use their charisma instead of their strength or dexterity attacks with a weapon. Watch out, because usually what you would have done in the past was an 8 strength, right? Just dump your strength because it doesn't matter now, and you're going to focus on charisma, and you use your charisma or your intelligence for your attack rolls. The problem with that is if you don't have 13 strength and you use one of these heavy weapons, then you have disadvantage on every attack. So you have to factor that in, or use the whip. And the fourth and final tactic for this is YOLO. Okay, you just take the speedy feat and you're going to provoke the opportunity attacks. You're going to take the speedy feat and risk it for the biscuit. Hopefully you don't get attacked too often. Hopefully you don't hit too often. This isn't a terrible way to go. The biggest downside of this path is that you had to take the speedy feat, which means the speedy feat is not directly contributing to your damage. So you didn't take some sort of damage dealing feat. Instead, you got the speedy feat. Now, that's not a huge downside because it gives you 10 feet movement speed, which you like. It allows you to ignore difficult terrain when you dash. And 2 of these options, Monk and Rogue, can dash as a bonus action. So that's great. And the monk especially. Monk is interesting because if you have enough key points, you almost want to provoke an opportunity attack once per round, because once per round you can use your reaction to deflect attack and spend a key point to reflect attack to just deal more damage. So if you're a monk, you might want to not take the speedy feat at all, just as long as you can make sure that every time you run up only to one monster, not adjacent to two, one monster, attack him, and then just walk away. Come on, man, hit me, and then and he tries, he hits you. You kind of want him to hit you. Then you just deflect all the damage, because that's what the monk deflect attack usually blocks all the damage. And then you spend a key point and just reflect the damage back in his face. So it just increased your damage, right? You took no damage, and blam, you hit him for even more damage by reflecting back in his face. That requires a lot of key points. So you would need 2 key points per round, right? 1 for flurry of blows, because if you didn't spend your bonus action disengaging, what are you doing? I guess you could do martial arts, but that doesn't really make sense, right? Because martial arts gives you 1 bonus action attack. Flurry of blows gives you 2, and spending a key, and that costs 1 key point. Spending 1 key point to reflect attack is the same key point cost, and a second attack with flurry of blows is probably more damage than reflecting attack. So you'd want to do both. If you're going for max damage, you'd want to do both of those things. So you need 2 key points per round, which means you need, what is it? You get 1 short rest, you got 1 cunning or uncanny metabolism. So your level 4 uncanny metabolism would give you 8 key points. 1 short rest would give you 12. You really need to get to 18 key points to reliably do this for all 9 rounds of combat. So you'd have to get to level 6. Yeah, you'd have to be level 6 before you could pull that off every round of combat. But you can do it sometimes. I mean, you may not get hit every time anyway. So yeah, those are your strategies, your 4 strategies for not getting hit as you try to perform this skirmisher playstyle. Let's look at this on a tactical map, okay? So here we have a party of 5 PCs. You're up against 6 monsters, 1 ghoul, 5 skeletons. You're all like level 4, I guess. 1 is a tank. This one's a frontliner. You got a blaster, a controller, and a skirmisher. You guys are going all offensive all the time. Maybe you've got one of these as a backup healer, maybe, I don't know. So the skirmisher's over here. So here's the idea, right? You start your turn, you're going to try to run in to there, make the attack, run back. Okay, that's your whole shtick. Now, using your bonus action to disengage in most builds is going to cut into your damage that you can deal. So if you are the monk, maybe you don't want to do that, and you're just going to provoke the opportunity attack as you move away, and that's fine, right? As I explained. There's one other thing I want to call out here, and this is one of the more compelling reasons to have a tank in your party. If somebody's a tank, maybe you don't need to run away at all, right? Because the tank is tanking that guy, really encouraging him to attack the tank instead of you. And hopefully you would have one of those features that cause disadvantage. So the protection fighting style, or you're one of those subclasses that has a soft taunt. And so if he does try to attack you, he's got disadvantage to attack you. Now, if this guy tries to use his ranged attack on you over here, then he also has disadvantage, right? Because he's adjacent to one of your allies. This guy wouldn't have disadvantage, but he would have half cover. There would be half cover to attack you. This guy would have 3/4 cover to attack you, which gives you a +5 on your AC. So if you have this is the main guy you need to worry about. And if the tank is taunting him, then he has disadvantage to attack. That's a pretty good, you have a pretty good chance of just not being hit. So maybe just stand there. You stay there and keep attacking, go for max damage output, right? That's a benefit of like pairing up tanks and skirmishers. That's like the biggest reason to pair up a tank, to have a tank in the party, is so that you can also have skirmishers in the party, because the tank is really going to protect the skirmishers. Like the frontliner is built in such a way that they're like, nah, if I get hit once or twice, that's okay. I'll still live. The skirmisher, on the other hand, could fold in 1 or 2 hits. So they're really, really weak. And as you go higher in levels and everybody's, building their defenses, right, you're going all damage all the time. So your defenses are falling further and further behind as you go higher levels. So at high levels, you might really die in 1 or 2 hits. All right, let's look at one more tactical scenario. So you're in a hallway, same number of enemies, monsters, same party composition. The tank and the frontliner there blocking the hallway, so they can't reach you guys. Now, you might think, oh, I can't attack now. But that's not true. You just move here, you share the space temporarily with one of your 2 allies, which you're allowed to do, and it doesn't even count as difficult terrain. You just walk up there, and you can make your attacks. Now, the one caveat to doing that is that you cannot willingly stay there, right? And if you did stay there, you would knock your ally and yourself prone. So you can't stay there. So you have to move away, and therefore you would definitely want to disengage or teleport or something like that to get back. And you want to go around the corner. This is like the most ideal. You might think this is not a good tactical setup. This is the ideal tactical setup for Skirmisher, right? You run around the corner. You cannot even be targeted by any of these enemies. The corner blocks range attacks from every enemy. You walk out there with impunity, attack, disengage, get back, or teleport to get back every round. This is the perfect setup. And you can start to see why movement speed would be so important, right? This right here is going to take 30 feet of movement just to pull it off, right? You need at least 30 to do that. And this is the ideal scenario, right? Let's say that the front line and the monsters were further up that hallway, then you got to run further to get around the corner and back. You might not, and if it's more than, like, if you just moved up 5 feet, you now need 40 feet of movement to get there and back. The monk can do that because they would have 40 feet of movement, just your base 30 plus the extra movement speed they get as a monk. They would have 40 feet of movement at level 4. Everybody else is going to start to struggle. You're going to need other options for boosting your movement speed, which is where maybe you want speedy again as a rogue. I don't know. Or maybe you just want a ranged attack option. So when you need it. Of the tactics of being a skirmisher. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different than I did with the frontliner with the skirmisher video here, video series, right? This will be multi-part for sure, but instead of me trying to like spend a couple of weeks creating all these builds and then showing it all at once and then rushing through how the builds are all done, I'm going to do a build video for each build, right? Try to make it something interesting as I go over the numbers, because it takes so long to create creating a build isn't that long, but doing all the number crunching for each build is actually a fair bit of time. So I'm going to do each one of those separately, and once I've got 6 or 8 different builds, which is enough data for us to start plotting it, then I'll go back and finish the Skirmisher series of videos to break it all down like I did for the frontliner. But thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.